fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it.
I don't know what happened on there. I just plucked her in first, gave some gen. Oh, fuck yeah. Sorry.
You are racing with other people. And if you no longer go for a test that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
We go green for 40 minutes of racing around Monza.
Brilliant. Look at defense by Ethan Rigault, just getting so punchy.
And a brilliant getaway already from Josh Rogers.
Two pro drivers going at it here between Dylan O'Keefe and Nick Foster.
Stanaway's demoted to third. Webster wins week 9 here at Sebring through the final corner. That's a huge slide for Cooper Murray. Just trying to barge their way through, and that's whoa, that's a merry-go-round for Nick Burkett. Campbell, Paolo Gaon, and Ferraris behind. Glenn Wood actually was flipped into the barriers. One of the most exciting pirouettes I've seen in quite some time. That's Van Gisbergen, and his day is done. Tell you what, if Calvin wins this race, I wouldn't be surprised. He's all four wheels up the racetrack. Wow, but he just saves it on the apex.
Contact almost made, side by side through the elevation change, and Scotty McLaughlin had the move done, but he got over the crest. And
What a send!
Dylan O'Keefe sends it up the inside, can't do anything with it.
Shane Van Gisbergen already on the attack.
It begins and sending has begun.
And it's going to be a drag race to the line. Tuesday night is rapidly becoming a night to lick the stamp. Send it.
Oh, I forgot I was helping commentate here. I was just sitting back in my jocks and
It's that time of the week again. It's Tuesday night, and that means it's time for some of the biggest names in real-life motorsport to gather together with the brightest talents from the online world, put all the egos aside, and just send it. Hi everyone, I'm Lockie Mance, and welcome to SimSpeed TV for another Tuesday evening. This is Week 4, Season 3 of the Just Send It iRacing series, and tonight marks the first time we've had supercars in the series. This evening, we've got a collection of real-life supercars drivers with names like Van Gisbergen, De Pasquale, Pye and Hype Gardner taking the opportunity to get some last-minute practice ahead of the official Supercars E-Series. But they're going to be challenged by some seriously capable sim racers, including Jackson Suzlin-Harlow, Brad Newman, Cody Bircher, and a driver in a rich vein of form, Cooper Webster. The venue for tonight is a circuit that will also feature in the opening Supercars E-Series round, the high-speed Monza track. I'm joined in commentary this evening by Ryan Jones. And Ryan, for the first time in Just Send It, we've got two different types of cars tonight, with both the Mustang and the ZB Commodore supercars in the field.
yeah, good evening, Lockie. Good evening, everyone. We do two different cars, but the theory is they handle exactly the same. I'm sure some people out there will try to tell you otherwise, but here at iRacing, they are built to the exact same handling characteristics and all that stuff, so there's no talk of parity. Thank God for that. But Monza, the Temple of Speed, and the folks that Just Send It have decided that they want it to be even faster. There's no first chicane. There's no second chicane. The first Lesmo has suddenly become one of the biggest breaking points on the racetrack, and you are not comfortable at all heading into that corner. The second chicane, which is now basically a kink, is absolutely wild. We're going to see some crazy action through the first sector of this racetrack.
You would have to say as well, Ryan, that the first Lesmo, now that we've got rid of those first and second chicanes, is also going to become one of the primary overtaking opportunities on this circuit, because typically what you'll see is you'll see drivers try and get a good run through the final corner, the parabolica, tuck in behind the car in front, get the slipstream down the main straight, and then go for the big send into the first chicane. But of course, the first chicane's not there tonight, so the first Lesmo becomes, like you say, one of the biggest braking zones and therefore one of the key overtaking opportunities.
Certainly does. We saw in practice and qualifying speeds up to and just touching 300 kilometers an hour down at the end of the main straight. That's what you see at the end of Conrod over at Bathurst. So incredibly fast here in Monza, and going to be a very, very interesting race. And a great opportunity too for some of these drivers to go head-to-head with the Supercars E-Series stars they're going to see in action tomorrow night, because from what I've heard, it might be the same setup that was released publicly to everyone, and I think they've nabbed it here for the Just Send It series tonight. So going to be interesting to see how those pros do, because they've had a lot of practice around this track, albeit with the chicanes. So expect to see guys like Van Gisbergen and Biscali and those at the front. Someone we haven't seen before though, Lockie, is Scott Pye. He's come to play for the first time in Just Send It.
I think you'll find that it's actually his second appearance, Ryan, because he made an appearance in the Formula 3 car at Silverstone a few weeks back. But there is Scott Pye on screen running the DeWalt livery that he runs on his Team 18 ZB Commodore in the main game Supercars Championship. And we'll also be running in the Just Send It series. We've got some other big names in the field as well, so Scott Pye will be one of them. Shane Van Gisbergen, Andre Heimgartner, Anton De Pasquale in the field. And then we've got some drivers who have developed quite high profiles in other racing categories as well, and we'll run you through those over the course of the night. We've also got some former supercar drivers in the field, including Jason Bargwanna, who's behind the wheel of a Mustang supercar for tonight's race.
Yeah, going to be fun to see how Bargwanna goes out here in sim racing, and a lot of drivers too from, you know, junior categories of the Australian motorsport, and developing into people that, you know, we're probably going to see one day in supercars. Guys like Brock Feeney, someone that is making a name for himself. Zane Goddard is in here as well. A few other drivers who I'm just trying to cast my eye over at the moment. Aaron Borg, another one. So it really ranges from professional, out-and-out professional supercar champions down to all through the ranks and down to your average sim racer, you know, getting right to the bottom of the barrel with guys like Scott Fontaine and those guys at the back top split. So a very big spread in terms of the guys, but they've all had to pre-qualify to make it into this top split. So it'll be very interesting to see how it unfolds today.
Well, Aaron Borg, of course, is the reigning Toyota 86 Series racing champion here in Australia, so another driver who's had a lot of success in real-life motorsport at a national level. So tonight, he gets the opportunity to go head-to-head with the supercar stars as well. Another name in the field, he made his debut last week in the Just Send It series, Oscar Piastri, a driver who could well be Australia's next Formula 1 star. But here are the grid positions. Cooper Webster taking pole by just over 100th of a second ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen. The second row of the grid is occupied by Anton De Pasquale and Brody Kostecki. Then we go back to Andrew Gilliam, Job Stewart out of position 6, Jackson Suzlin Harlow, who was the dominant winner last time out in the TCR car, in 7th. Back to Oscar Piastri in 8th, Brad Newman in 9th, and Ross Rizzo completing the top 10.
Oh boy, I've just seen it's a rolling start. Curva Grande is going to be calamity. Cody Bircher and Josh Muggleton 11th and 12th, Blake Purdy and Tom Freer off row 7, Benjamin Smith and Justin Ridgier off of the 8th row, Anthony Winkelman and Brock Feeney behind them, Tally Antich and Cameron Guile round out the top 20.
21st position is occupied by Brian Borg. We go back to Chris Coxhead in 22nd. Jay Hansen, the Ash Seawood Motorsport TCR driver, next out of 23rd. And then it's Glenn Postlethwaite, Jack Hotter, Andre Heimgartner, a bit of work for him to do back in 26th position. And then it's Lockie Hughes, Josh Morris, Guy Leach, and another Toyota 86 racing driver, Jaden Ransley, completing the top 30.
Scott Pye will line up of 31st alongside Mia Ott, Scott Nolan and Mitch McGarry off of the 17th row of the grid. Michael Rosenblatt, Kobe Williams ahead of Emerson Harvey and Tex Star McCoy. What a name. James Kutcher and Stephen Hoinville rounding out your top 40.
As always in Just Centre, it's a massive field. We had a total of 156 drivers attempt to qualify tonight. These are the drivers who made it into the top split. Jack Whittis and Michael Bolton, back to James Owen and Dylan DeBono, Lee Harrison and Mitch McLeod, back to Jay Cool, Jonathan Bykoff, Aaron Borg and Jordan Mulak, rounding out your top 50.
I think we'll ask taking have to roll through on your screen because we're coming up to Parabolica. We're getting ready to go green. A rolling start. This field is going to be ridiculously tightly bunched heading in to Curve Grande. You can't go through there flat out. You've got to dab a bit of brakes into it. You've got to lift off. Side by side, it's incredibly tough. I think we might even see some three-wide. This is going to be chaos.
Thoroughly looking forward to this. Cooper Webster and Shane Van Gisbergen on the front row. And if you're wondering why the car on the outside of the front row is red, well, Shane Van Gisbergen tonight has decided not to run Red Bull Coleman Racing Team livery. Instead, he's in a retro livery-themed Gibson Motorsport car as we get underway for Just Send It here at Monza in Supercars. Beautiful start from our pole sitter Cooper Webster, and he's already going to have a margin over the rest of the field by the time they get to Curve Grande on this opening lap. Straight through where you would normally turn right then left for the first chicane, and it's Webster who leads. Van Gisbergen looking to the outside, and then the two Erebus Motorsport cars are deep. Pasquale and Kostecki next. A couple of cars running wide as we would have expected through Curve Grande.
Oh, props to the slide, whoever that was, all the way out on the grass. Look at the speed they carry down into that second chicane. That is truly insane. And there's the crash. A big incident there into the first. Lesmo Brockfini's out in the weeds. Andre Heimgartner's in the garage. We'll take a look at our modem simulation replay from the roof of Andre Heimgartner. You saw the car go off to the left. And then down here into what would normally be the second chicane, it's now a kink into the track. And let's see what unfolded here as he dart through into the fence. Oh, Heimgartner cleaned up. Innocent victim in that. Nothing he could do.
And that was Scott Pye was the other car that was involved in that as well, the DeWalt Team 18 Commodore. Look at the damage to the side of Scott Pye's car. We've got more dramas as well, by the looks of it. We ride on board with Scott Pye now, so this is what happened to him, and that's why he got T-boned by Heimgartner on the opening lap. A few other cars that were innocently involved in that one as well.
Big barrel roll for him as up front, Van Gisbergen is hard on the defence from Anton Di Pasquale down to the main straight, chasing him to the inside. Pasquale's going to try to go the long way round, and Kostecki with a big run as well.
A few team tactics starting to come into play there with Penrite Erebus drivers ganging up on Shane Van Gisbergen. He now finds himself in a sandwich of Penrite Erebus ZB Commodores. Jackson Suzlin Harlow, who's been one of the front runners in the Just Send It series, sitting there in fifth position watching all of the action unfold in front of him with some hard and feisty supercars combatants going at it.
Should mention too, Grant McPherson is in the session as a spotter for Shane Van Gisbergen. Not sure how much help it's going to be with a fixed setup, but he's there to lend a helping hand. McPherson, of course, is real life race engineer in the Supercars series, so good to see it's not just the drivers getting involved.
And let's not forget too that Brody Kostecki, while he won't be competing in the Supercars A Series, he's been tasked with finding the car setup that all of the A Series drivers will have to use. So he's basically the engineer for everybody in the field in the Supercars A Series. When you look a bit further back in the pack, because there's some good battles happening a bit further afield, including just outside the top 10, and with the straights being so long, and particularly with those chicanes being taken out, slipstreaming is of absolute paramount importance tonight.
Yes, top 9 are basically all in the fight for the lead. Webster did a phenomenal job on that first lap to open up a gap big enough to almost break the slipstream back to what's now Pasquale in second. So he's done a really good job, and you're on board there with Jackson Harlow bump drafting Kostecki all the way down to the main straight into Curve Grande. A bit of brakes used to dip the car in, and then you fly through the corner, fly through into the kink. Webster's flashing the lights. It's probably a lapped car out in front of them. There is Jack Whittis a lap down, coming under pressure as now Harlow puts the move on Kostecki. got to be careful because Job Stewart and Andrew Gilliam are lined up behind him, the Pursuit Sim Racing teammates here, and they actually come together.
Job Stewart actually gets muscled down high and wide and will lose a couple of positions out of that one. He was looking for what would have been a rather ambitious move on the outside of Brody Kostecki, but didn't pay off there for Job Stewart, the most capped driver in the Just Centred series. He has started 27 out of the 30 races that we've had in Just Centred thus far.
And why wouldn't you? How much fun is it? It's a different track and car combo every week too, so it never gets stale. Oscar Piastri is up here in this battle too for 8th place as we just look at the moment further afield. A big slide out of Scary for a couple of drivers there. That's Michael Rosenblatt running in the Red Bull Holden livery machine. Let's go look at the battle for 7th place though, because they've closed right on up. Coming out of Parabolica, Gilliam's at the head of this train. Then comes Piastri, Bircher and Job Stewart at the back after that contact through the Lesmos. Now he's going to try and get alongside Bircher, but if he pulls out, he loses a slipstream. Probably going to lose out overall, so he's just going to sit in here and wait for a braking opportunity.
It's a very tactical game, isn't it? So again, you don't want to pull out of the slipstream too early, or you can actually find yourself one out, one wide, and being shuffled back a number of positions at a fairly rapid rate of knots. So a lot of racecraft involved, and just look at how hard they commit through this chicane, firing hard across the curbs. You can't quite get through there flat. You do have to lift off the accelerator just to get the nose of the car down to get it turned in. And a slight mistake there for Gilliam. Ran a little bit wide on the exit of the first Lesmo. That will invite Oscar Piastri to put the pressure right on it. A big crash for Magic. Wow.
Well, that would have hurt, man. If he had VR, that would make you real dizzy. Direct drive wheel too might have actually hurt. You see there, just turned in too early on the outside, and that absolutely launched Talientich out into the gravel trap in the grass. And once you get out there at just under 300 kilometers an hour, there is no saving it.
So it was Jay Hansen, I think, was the driver that he came together with. Because of the lack of chicanes at the Monza circuit, to crash, it's going to be a big one, just because of the sheer speeds that these cars are carrying, as we see that Andrew Gilliam, again, battling it out with Oscar Piastri.
Sorry, Lockie. Webster's just come down into pit lane from the lead of the race. So now this is interesting because we always talk about the competition caution coming out. We get it about 98% of the 99% of the time even. And we always see drivers getting caught out by having not pitted before it comes out, because of course the way the rules work here in iRacing is you have to wait till everyone's bunched up behind the safety car until the pit lane opens. So that means the drivers that have to pit will go all the way to the back of the field. So pitting early, getting it done before the safety car is a massive advantage, and this is why Webster's in the pit lane already.
Exactly right. So he's a Just Centred veteran. He knows how to play the strategy. He's the most successful driver in terms of the number of race wins in the Just Centred series, with a total of 6 race victories, followed by Jackson Suzlin Harlow, who has 4 race wins to his credit. As this is really heating up now, Oscar Piastri and Andrew Gilliam, they're going to run side by side into what is basically the sole remaining chicane on this Monza circuit. Gilliam manages to defend the position, but you can see that Gilliam is looking a bit ragged. He's starting to drop wheels off the racetrack. He's starting to lose time with slides on the exits of some corners. And I think that Oscar Piastri is starting to sense a bit of vulnerability. But just to come back to the pit stop point, cars only started the race with enough fuel to get them not all the way through the race. So all of the cars in the field will have to come in for a splash of fuel at some stage. And as Ryan mentioned, you want that pit stop to be done and out of the way should a competition caution fall at any point.
I mean, wouldn't you start to be a bit ragged if you had someone like Oscar Piastri all over your rear bumper around a track as fast as this?
Well, Oscar Piastri hasn't done a lot of racing here in Australia, but he's had a lot of success overseas. Champion in Formula Renault Euro Cup last year, shaping up for a season in the International FIA Formula 3 Championship, driving with the front-running Prima racing team in 2020 once that season finally starts. And as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, he is the driver who has been picked by many to be Australia's next best shot of making it all the way to Formula 1.
This is now the battle for the lead of the race then. Piscali, Van Gisbergen, and Harlow Kostecki, this train of 4 heading down through Ascari. Of course, if they don't pick up some pace, though, and they all do make their pit stop before the caution potentially comes out, we will probably see Webster cycle back out to the front. But right now, in terms of track position, this is the lead of the race. That's what they're battling for. And who knows what can happen at Just Send It. Everything seems to happen in these races, and depending where the caution falls, it could shake up the field massively as we see a big dive from Gilliam. Actually gets into the side there of Jack Wittis through Parabolica, and that's going to allow Piastri to get back down the inside and get the better run down the main straight. Gilliam will tuck into a slipstream here as soon as he clears him, but the side draft working a treat, coming straight back at him there, almost banging doors as they come down the main straight. Cody Bircher with a head of steam as well, gives a big shot to the back of Piastri down the inside, bump drafting through, and unfortunately Gilliam's going to lose 2 spots.
Good job there from Oscar Piastri, and also really good from Cody Bircher. Good awareness from the Formula Ford driver to sense that that opportunity was going to present itself, but it's got Piastri managed to use that laps car to his advantage, and we've had a change for the lead. This is a double slingshot manoeuvre. Jackson Suzlin Harlow goes past both Van Gisbergen and De Pasquale and takes the lead of the race.
Surely he had to have had a helping hand on that, because Van Gisbergen was bump drafting Pasquale all the way down that straight. That's a remarkable turn of speed. And we're going to have a look, as we stay on board with this replay here, at something else that's unfolded. I think Pasquale's actually dropped to the rear of this quadruple of cars. He made a mistake coming through the second of the 2 Lesmos, dropped a couple tyres off, and that momentum killed, goes right to the back. And now Kostecki made a similar mistake through Ascari. So it's Harlow from Van Gisbergen, from Pasquale, and then comes Kostecki. I say your top 4 sit right now.
We've talked about Cooper Webster and the rich vein of form that he has been in online sim racing in recent times, but I'll tell you what, Jackson Suzlow's not too far behind. We saw that he's got a very dominant victory in Just Send It last week in the TCR car at the Yokoyama circuit, where he had to fight back through a suboptimal strategy, and right now Suzlin Harlow is taking the fight right up to the regular supercar drivers. So Harlow doing a really, really solid job.
I dare say that there's an interesting strategy game to be played here as well, Lockie, because you say they talk about how they need to make some fuel. This track is so high speed, you're so full throttle, you're full throttle for over half the lap, maybe even close to 3/4 of the lap. That uses a lot of fuel. And if you're tucked up behind someone and you're in their slipstream down these straights, you're going to save quite a bit. So there's also that to consider. I mean, on Webster's pitted, he's probably by himself right now, so he might be using more fuel. These guys might be able to stop for a shorter amount down in pit lane because of the slipstream they're in.
Good to see the retro Pertec Marcus Ambrose livery being run by Jordan Mulak, who is one of our young up-and-coming journalists in the Australian motor racing scene. And Jordan Mulak's had a fairly solid run, started deep in the field, but has worked his way up into the top 15. And again, Ryan, we saw it there with Anton De Pasquale, because there's no chicanes and because the speeds are so high, you only have to make a small mistake on the exit of a corner, and the amount of speed and momentum that you lose, it will cost you time and top speed all the way down the next straight. So small mistakes at this circuit can have quite big consequences.
Certainly on the amplified layout we're running, as we see some people making their way around a Parabolica. That's looks like Chris Coxhead in the Zuva machine, and the number 4 car, and down into pit lane comes Mitchell McLeod for talking. So he'll join the list of drivers who have decided to bring it down into the pits and get their pit stop out of the way as we head back on board with Kostecki out front, watching on as those 3 go nose to tail in front of him.
So the highest placed car that's done a pit stop at the moment is Cooper Webster. He currently sits in position 22. As we've got a car missing a rear wing, Stephen Hoynville. I'll tell you what, the aero around a circuit like this one with no rear wing, the back end of that car is going to be sliding around like you would not believe. I'm actually quite amazed
yeah.
that he can keep up the sort of pace that he is at the moment.
Yeah, an interesting quirk to the racing damage model. You do seem to manage to survive without that rear wing intact. Potentially when we get the new damage model into the service for these cars, that may change. As off into the gravel trap and then into the fence goes Jason Barguana in the go-karting slideways machine. What happened to him? Through the second chicane, over the curb, loses the rear? No, it's into the Lesmos, isn't it? Oh, it just clips the grass on entry. And for good measure, got the fence on the inside as well.
So Jason Barguana, or Bargs as we like to call him, has been sharing the sim racing duties with his son Ben Barguana, and that includes both the Just Centred Series and also the ARG Esports Cup.
It's a cool entry, that one, for the Esports Cup that they've got. It'll be very fun to see how they go over the remainder of the season and that. And of course, that'll be back live on Thursday evening for everyone that wants to tune into that. It'll be a fantastic broadcast, that.
So these top 4 cars all still nose to tail, with Suzel and Harlow holding out a hungry pack of supercar drivers. The open wheel star Oscar Piastri in position 5, doing a good job keeping pace with the top 4 cars at the moment, Oscar Piastri. You would think that these cars are probably not too far away from coming in to make pit stops. We're still not quite at half race distance yet, but as we know all too well, Ryan, the competition caution could come out at any time. It was actually, we had fairly early competition cautions, didn't we, the last couple of weeks, but it looks like we're letting the race run drag a bit longer tonight.
Yeah, 30 minutes to go. Their cautions come out the last 2 weeks. We've seen it as late as, what was it, the first week, like 8 minutes to go, we had that caution come out, Lockie. That was a crazy 2 or 3 lap dash to the end. If we get something similar to that, it would be very interesting with the slipstreams down into the end of the main straights here. But I think a caution with, say, 15 or so minutes to go sets us up very nicely for a grandstand finish, because a lot of the drivers will have made their pit stop by that time too. So it keeps the fast guys at the front and allows us to see the best battle we can for the lead of the race, as Gilliam gives Piastri a big shot down into Curva Grande.
I am kind of hoping that the competition caution does come out, because we've got some cool new technology that we're wanting to showcase tonight in regards to data and statistics for the Just Centred Series. We'll talk about that a bit later on once the competition caution is shown. But Oscar Piastri, having attacked Andrew Gilliam for a number of laps, managed to find his way past Gilliam with some assistance from that lapped car that we saw, but Gilliam has stayed right with Oscar Piastri, and Piastri is now having to play defence.
Well, the other issue with this layout, this track in general, it is nigh on impossible to pull away from someone unless you are truly, probably, close to half a second quicker than them a lap, because the slipstream is worth so much. It allows the car behind to just suck right up to the back of you down these straights with almost no effort.
There's a lapped car there that's crabbing all over the road, so that car's obviously made contact with the wall and suffered damage. That's Talianchich after that massive crash that we saw earlier on. One of the things that I discovered with my own sim racing setup is that the bent steering damage effect is very realistic. In other words, if you have contact and you bend the steering, the steering wheel does actually move out of alignment, and it makes the car very hard to drive, and that's the reason that Talianchich has decided to head back into the pits.
Van Gisbergen goes through on the inside of Jackson Harlow and takes the lead of the race away through Curva Grande. They actually made a slight bit of contact as Van Gisbergen tried to edge his way back to the racing line as they came into the corner, but in the end, he gets through relatively cleanly, locks up the front right though. This might allow Harlow to get back through as they head through into the second. Lesmo, can he do it? No, he tucks back in behind. We'll have to wait if he wants to regain the lead of this race.
It's a high-pressure motor race, isn't it, between these two at the moment, as we see that the Penrite Erebus cars of Anton De Pasquale and Brody Kostecki have decided to get themselves out of the lead battle and come in for their pit stops. Out they come right now, a bit further down the order, of course, having taken those stops. And the interesting thing is that, I'll have to wait for the timing to update, but I think they've actually made it back out just behind Cooper Webster, so that'll all shake out, of course, once the rest of the pit stops take place. About a second and a half they are behind Cooper Webster. So it'll be interesting to see where Suzel and Harlow and SVG end up in terms of their position relative to those other cars once they come in to take their stops, which they are going to do right now.
Oh, Harlow dancing it in on the rears as he brought that to the pit lane speed limit, which is 63 kilometers an hour, 64 kilometers an hour here at Monza. And he actually got the Logitech man had actually got back through past the red line driver of Van Gisbergen. And who's that sending smoke signals? That was one of the pursuit cars, it looked like, coming in. Tom Freer, yeah. So let's see where these guys come out. Harlow gained a lot on entry with that committed dive towards the pit lane limit. We're on board with Cooper Webster as he winds it up, coming out of Parabolica, launches onto this main straight. Harlow and Van Gisbergen leaving their pit stalls now. Van Gisbergen actually in a long way in front of Harlow. Comes out of pit lane now. There he is on the right-hand side of the track. So Webster goes back through. Here comes Kostecki and Andrew Gilliam as well.
So very, very close. And I reckon that Andrew Gilliam's actually been able to make up some time throughout that whole pit stop sequence because he's right on the tail of Brody Kostecki as they head through a curve at Grande. But with Shane Van Gisbergen, you get the feeling that his engineer Grant first, he would have been watching the strategy from the Penrite Erebus team. And as soon as he saw that those cars came in, he would have been on the radio to Van Gisbergen, box this lap, come on in, let's get your stop out of the way so that we don't get undercut by the Penrite Erebus cars.
Selected the beautiful amount of fuel as well because Harlow lost a ton. He's currently in behind Kutcher and Heimgartner on track, probably about 3 or so seconds behind Shane Van Gisbergen. You can see the red car off in the distance. That's the back of Shane's car. Oscar Piastri is actually just behind Harlow now as he tries to make his way by a couple of these last cars. Gets into the side of Andre Heimgartner into Ascari, and Heimgartner, his Ford Mustang, now looking a little worse for wear. Bit of damage to our left side as a result.
And that pit sequence really hasn't worked out for Jackson Suzel and Harlow because he's fallen right back. And this is the battle for what will be the effective race lead because Brody Kostecki goes up the inside of Cooper Webster on fresher tyres, of course, now. Brody Kostecki having come in quite a bit late of his pit stop, and those two cars will drag race down the straight with Andrew Gilliam getting involved in the contest as well.
Gilliam's got the best run of them all, the double toe coming down the main straight, 3 abreast in the curve at Grande, and backing out was Cooper Webster, and on the inside, Kostecki through into the lead of the race. Fantastic exchange then between those 3 drivers, and Webster goes from first to third in the blink of an eye.
Full credit to all 3 of those drivers because they showed each other just enough room and respects to make sure they were all able to get through Curve at Grande without any one of them being turfed off the road, which could have been quite an easy thing to happen with the running 3 wide into such a high-speed corner, but it's Kostecki who takes the lead. The question you have to ask now, though, Ryan, is when do you actually want to be leading this race? We've seen just how effective the slipstream is. I'd actually rather be probably in 2nd or 3rd position at the moment and set up for a bit of a charge a bit later on in the race.
I'd rather be Shane. That's not on this race, just in general. You'd want to be Shane Van Gisbergen, living the dream, isn't he? Jumping on the sim every day, running around on these events. And no matter what car he jumps into, Lockie, he's always fast as he makes a move on Cooper Webster down into P3 then. You're right, you don't want to be the car leading. That's Brody Kostecki. You want to be either Andrew Gilliam, Van Gisbergen, or Cooper Webster right now. Webster, though, might be the worst of those 3 because he pitted about 15 minutes before them. So his tyres are definitely worse for wear. Even though it is such a straight line track, it still makes a big difference as Gilliam comes by Kostecki. There's no defending that. The speed difference, massive there between the 2 drivers. Pursuit Sim Racing to the front.
So Andrew Gilliam goes through to take the lead, and it's Van Gisbergen who puts the pressure on Brody Kostecki. Those 2 cars will be door to door as they head into the kick. Van Gisbergen just breathes out of the throttle and lets Kostecki go back through, but it looks down the inside into the first Lesmo. Not quite able to do it there. And yeah, that was always going to be the compromise, wasn't it, for Cooper Webster? By coming in early, you minimise the risk of being caught out by a safety car. but it also means that your tyres have to go further in the second stint, which might put you at a bit of a pace disadvantage compared to the cars that you're racing against, as Van Gisbergen this time lines up Kostecki for a nice textbook move down the inside.
Needed to do that because Gilliam's put a pretty handy little margin over these guys on this lap. Don't know that's enough to break the slipstream, but it's certainly not giving a big effect to Van Gisbergen now, so he's going to have to claw in that gap a little bit, as just off the back of these guys too, Anton De Pasquale is starting to catch back up to them in all of this. If they continue to battle out the way they're going, he'll get to them. In the not too distant future, we just saw a bit of contact there on the entry to Parabolica, and yep, off the track for the man that was the head of that queue of cars. As the safety car comes out, competition caution, we're going to have, hey, what did I say, 15-minute dash to the end.
And the thing here is that everybody has done their pit stop, so strategically it doesn't have an impact because nobody's going to be coming in to do pit stops anymore. They're all done, they're all out of the way. Now it's simply a question of who's got their car in the best condition for this final sprint to the end and who can drive it the fastest.
And that little gap that Gilliam had, that's gone. He doesn't have it anymore. And this restart is going to be crazy because they're going to be single file. We don't have double file restarts here in road racing on iRacing, thankfully, because I'd hate to see how that would unfold in a series like Just Send It. With 15 minutes to go, no one is lifting at this point in the race, Lockie. This is the point where you put it all out on the table, don't give an inch, and, well, it is Just Send It, so, I mean, you're not really giving much anyway, but you're leaving it all out there now, and having some massive lunges. If Gilliam makes a slight mistake, he's going to get pounced on by probably half a dozen cars.
I have to say that Andrew Gilliam's car seems to have come alive in the second half of this race, because we saw that before the pit stop cycle, he was back battling with Oscar Piastri, but ever since the pit stops, he's been able to work his way right into the lead pack and now runs right at the front of the field. The best lap time that we've seen so far in this race, 1 minute 33.5, which was set by Shane Van Gisbergen, but Andrew Gilliam last time around did a 33.8, so his pace has been pretty good as well. I reckon that any one of these top 5 or 6 cars, based on the lap times that we've seen, have all got a chance of winning this race, especially now that the field's been bunched up with this competition caution.
And as you can see, all the cars that are a lap down, out of sequence with the lead lap cars getting a wave around. Some of the notable names that's helping out is Andre Heimgartner, Scott Pye, Jason Bargwanna, all back onto the lead lap now. So we're going to have over 45, close to 50 cars, all theoretically still in contention on the law. No, under caution. Chris Coxhead.
He was in trouble earlier on in the race as well, and now there's this awkward position.
No, come on.
Cars trying to do 3-point turns in front of the field, and they've actually ended up parked right across the racetrack. Oh, dear. There we go. Now we finally have a passage through. I was thinking that we might have had to have a red flag there because the track was completely blocked.
Oh my god.
So
I thought we'd see that under green flag conditions today, not under caution.
While we are under caution, though, probably a good chance to, as we just have a look at the replay of this incident, I'll come back to the point that I was going to make. There we go. So it's the situation that we have seen under safety car before, with cars that are going around to try and get their laps back and maybe just misjudging people as they jump on the brakes to slow down behind the safety car.
Oh, he was the innocent victim in that. He got hit from behind.
He did, Chris Cox said, so seriously unlucky there. As we go back to live shots, the point that I wanted to make, because we will do another lap behind the safety car, thanks to Accelerate Data Services and Management, we do actually have some really cool stats that we can come up with. As I mentioned before, Cooper Webster, the most successful driver in the Just Send It series, with 6 victories. He's also been on the podium 8 times. So Cooper Webster running in the top 4 in this race at the moment. And most polls, not too much of a surprise. Josh Rogers not competing tonight, but he is very much one of the class acts in sim racing, not just here in Australia, but internationally. He is the king of qualifying for Just Send It. And Job Stewart has had the most starts in this series out of the races that have been broadcast. He's competed in 27 out of the 30 races that we've had so far.
The Just Send It Stats Corner brought to you by Accelerate, the race brought to you by Modem Simulation and Erebus Motorsport, and also the Melbourne Performance Centre. As you can see, most laps led also belongs to Josh Rogers.
Not
most
anymore.
Laps completed. Yes, good point. We talked about this before the race, didn't we?
Cooper Webster was only one behind him coming into this race, and Cooper Webster has led a few laps, so Cooper Webster now takes that honour from Josh Rogers. But big thank you to Vanessa Gray from Accelerate for putting together the awesome automated spreadsheets to allow us to come up with these stats. Here we go, here's a good one. Most positions gained. Now this is cumulative, so positions gained and lost over the series. Race low, 351 total positions gained. And I'll tell you that now that we've posted that stat, he will be all over social media reminding everybody all about that for the foreseeable future. Record for most positions gained in a single race, Christian Lindbob, 52 spots. He came from 58th on the grid all the way up to 6th position in the final race of Season 1 at the end of last year. Well, Raceway's not going to be adding to his tally of positions gained tonight by the looks of it.
No, certainly not. And that doesn't include the ups and downs of the races either, in terms of actual overtakes. Maybe oh my god, the way these races go. There we go, they got it out. You can often find yourself starting at the back, getting towards the front, going right to the back again, and doing it all over again. So, yeah, that's a lot of overtaking that Reso's had to do on this series. Lights are out on the pace car. We're going to go back green on this lap with under 10 minutes to go in this race. A grandstand finish ahead of us here in Just Send It in Monza. A preview almost to the Supercars E Series tomorrow with Van Gisbergen, Pasquale lining up 2nd and 5th for this restart.
It will be a grandstand finish, that's for sure, because we've got some serious quality at the front of this field. Some of the best real-life racing drivers in Australia set to do battle with some of the best sim racing competitors in the country as the safety car peels off into pit lane, and it will be up to our race leader Andrew Gilliam to control the pace of the field at the restart. Jackson Suzlin-Harlow's judged it very well, because he's been able to close up to the back of Anton De Pasquale and will put the move on De Pasquale as they head down the front straight for the first lap of this restart.
He tucks back in, opts not to make the move. A very good restart for Gilliam, aided by the fact Van Gisbergen laid a long way off of him. Coming out of Parabolica allowed him, 2 or 3 car lengths before they even went green. And it has given him a big slipstream though, so he's closed up almost right onto the back of him. Brody Kostecki bump drafted him all the way down to that main straight as well to help him regain that gap, as a lot of side-by-side in the background. Oscar Piastri is in that mess of cars and getting hit by Blake Purdy out into the weeds. There's a car on its roof at the second chicane as well. Piastri's got a massive tank slapper. Oh, we got to get a replay of that one on your screen, as he's almost caught 3 wide in the live pictures as well. By the way, as he's been turned. Oh no. Here we go. This is how it started for Piastri. Stay with this replay because he gets turned at the very end of the straight. How long does this go on for?
And how did he save it? More to the point, Oscar Piastri, he went left, he went right, he went all the way across the racetrack, and somehow he managed to maintain control of that ZV Commodore, but he finally got turned around as they headed into the chicane, wiped across the nose of the other car, and they will fall down the order. What a shame for Oscar Piastri, who had been running and contending towards the point here of the field. And there it is, a massive shot for Josh Muggleton, former Nissan GT Academy finalist, who ends up on his roof. That was a massive, massive moment there for Josh Muggleton.
And it's contact. Glenn Postlethwaite through the second chicane, put him into the fence, and Muggleton had nowhere to go. Oh god, I've just seen some 3 wide action in the field. As up here, Brody Kostecki's got himself in to the lead of the race. There's a massive crash into Curva Grande half a dozen cars have found their way into a whole lot of trouble as well. Michael Yip, one of the drivers, Scott Pye, is involved, as is Andre Heimgartner, with half of his car remaining. That was massive.
The Kelly Racing Ned Whiskey Mustang has got significant damage front and rear, so Andre Heimgartner, you would say, out of business tonight. But speaking of business, we are at the business end of the motor race. We've got a freight train of cars fighting it out for the lead. We'll have a look at what happened in this multi-car shunt at Curva Grande, and it continued on a bit further down the road as well by the looks of it. And Andre Heimgartner, another driver who fell victim to a multi-car incident that he didn't have any part in to start off with, but certainly did by the end.
Oh, Scott Fontaine in that crash too. What are you doing, Fonte? Fonte's, of course, one of the other directors here at SimSpeed, so we like to give him some bit of banter when he's out there on the track, which he hasn't been for quite some time. Good to see him having a crack tonight. It's absolutely on at the front. Gilliam trying to shake the trying to get in the draft of Kostecki. He's going to do it. Can he get alongside him? No, he backs out of it, and Van Gisbergen's got a mother of all runs down into Curva Grande there, as Cooper Webster's going to lose out maybe to Pasquale. Harlow's in this as well. The top 6 cars covered by about a second, 2 seconds maybe. No, it's less than a second.
Cooper Webster is fighting and fighting and fighting, but he's being turned by Suzlin Harlow. I was just about to say that he's been fighting to hold on to positions with tyres that were rapidly fading compared to his opposition. But in the end, he loses the fight and he gets turned hard into the wall by Jackson Suzlin Harlow.
Oh, what a shame for Webster. What a race he'd driven so far. Just, I think, a little bit loose or checked up a bit earlier than Harlow was expecting, and got that hit into the rear end. Round he went. We'll get another angle over here. He was side-by-side on approach with the Penrite car, and that unsettled him, I think. And, yeah, just a bit slow coming out of the corner, and Harlow straight into the back of him as we go back to the front.
So it's now pretty much a case of then there were 4 or 5 cars. Suzlin Harlow lost a bit of time compared to the race-leading quartet because of that moment where he was getting tangled up with Cooper Webster. But it is Brody Kostecki out in front, Andrew Gilliam in second position, Shane Van Gisbergen third, Anton De Pasquale in fourth position. The Penrite cars have been running right at the pointy end of the field all night. Both of them are going to be a factor here, fighting it out for the win. Most positions gained so far in this race. Simon Black, he's come up 42 spots. He's running in 16th position after starting in 58th.
Not a bad effort from him, indeed. Only, I think, 3 laps to go, maybe 2 laps to go when we come across the stripe. Not long, though, I can tell you that much, as Kostecki absolutely throwing it over, and Van Gisbergen lunges down the inside of Gilliam. Can he complete the move? There's contact. Gilliam ends out in at the gravel trap. Goes to the very back of this train of cars. That just gifted precious time to Kostecki out front.
So it's now supercar real-life drivers running in positions 1, 2 and 3. Brody Kostecki ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen, ahead of Anton De Pasquale, and Jackson Suzlin Harlow got through as well. So Andrew Gilliam lost multiple positions as a result of Van Gisbergen just barging his way through up the inside. Again, just goes to show how costly a loss of momentum can be, and Gilliam has to be careful here because he's vulnerable to Ross Rizzo now as well. Cody Birch is still very much part of this equation too, so some of these other cars have been able to close up, and Gilliam having to defend to the inside. Rizzo trying to go the long way round through the Parabolica.
Not quite going to work for him, but he got up over to the curb as well, which really unsettled the car. He have to tuck in and get some handy little slipstream off the back of Andrew Gilliam as we go on board with Pasquale, Bobdraft and Shane. Very smart racer, Anton. He knows that he has to help Shane get close to the back of Kostecki before he tries to put a move on him, because if they start battling, Kostecki's going to just walk away with it out front. I dare say Harlow back and forth knows this as well.
It's been a smart race so far from Jackson Suzlin Harlow, and if any of these drivers move even a millimetre off the line, he's in the prime position to be able to pounce. But you would have to say that if we're treating this race as a bit of a preview for what we might be expecting in the Supercars E-Series when it kicks off tomorrow night, you'd have to say that Shane Van Gisbergen and Anton De Pasquale two of the drivers who are probably going to feature in terms of championship contention for the A Series.
Maybe the reason Kostecki's not allowed to run, other than the fact he's not a full-time driver, is because he's going to beat them all. He's the engineer for all their setups, and he's got the pace as well, doesn't he? Here in the virtual world, he's very fast. And as we head on to what's going to be the final lap of the race, he's got a handy little margin over Shane van Gisbergen through Parabolica. Is it enough then? With 1 lap to go at Monza, can he hold on?
I'm not sure that it is quite going to be enough. We've seen just how powerful the slipstream is here, and Shane van Gisbergen is closing. He was a fraction quicker that last time through. Shane van Gisbergen. Will he be close enough though? We head on to what will be the final lap of the motor race. What a great display it's been from all of these front runners. We have had a couple of incidents, but we've had plenty of good, hard, clean, combative racing between them as well.
Harlow had a quick look there at the back of Pasquale. He wasn't able to complete it. The gap closes again. It's 0.4 of a second. Kostecki back to Van Gisbergen, fully committed through that kink that was the second chicane, through the Lesmos. There's a couple straights remaining, and I think Van Gisbergen might be well in that slipstream range. It's closed up. He's right there on him. By the time we get down to Parabolica, Kostecki might have to be hard on the defence. 3.5 tenths, 3 tenths separating them as they head through into Ascari.
When Shane van Gisbergen's behind the wheel of any race car, whether it's in real life or it's in the virtual world, you are left in no doubt whatsoever that he will extract no less than 100%. So I can guarantee it, if there's even a sniff of an opportunity when they head into the Parabolica on this last lap, that he will go for it. But I don't think he's quite close enough. Harlow up the inside of Di Pasquale, challenging for the final spot on the podium. Those two cars will drag race out of the final corner, but coming through to take the win, he's going to be the engineer for all cars for the Supercars E-Series, and he emerges victorious tonight in Just Send It. Congratulations to Brodie Kostecki. Penrite Racing, he is your winner for Week 4, Season 3 of Just Send It here at Monza.
And another battle across the line. Jay Hansen and Tom Freer were line astern coming across the line there. Jordan Mulak in another battle too, and Kostecki almost won that race through Ascari. He got a fantastic run through there. Oh, that's some torn up race cars at the end of this race. Yeah, he had a fantastic run through Ascari. He pulled a gap on Shane through there, and that was enough to seal the deal heading down into Parabolica.
So, just having a look as well, the winner of the Best Postman Award for the night for making up the most positions is going to go to someone who we haven't talked about yet. Another Erebus endurance driver, Will Brown. He came from outside the top 50 on the grid up to 17th spot, a gain of 38 positions.
It says Leanne Brown on my timing screens.
Yes, he uses his mum's count. There is a story behind that. Here is confirmation of your final finishing order, though. Brodie Kostecki, in the end, by 0.4 of a second ahead of Shane van Gisbergen and Anton Di Pasquale, full-time, or let's say real-life supercars drivers occupying all of the top 3 positions for the first time that I can remember in the Just Send It series. Jackson Suzel and Harlow, the best of the sim racers, in 4th position, ahead of Andrew Gilliam, who fought gallantly, led the race for a little while, ends up bringing it home in the top 5. Ross Rizzo 6th, Jay Hansen in 7th position ahead of Tom Freer, Jay Cool and Dylan DeBono rounding out your top 10.
11th across the line was Job Stewart, Josh Morris, Benjamin Smith, Michael Rosenblatt, Jordan Mulak in 15th, who gained quite a lot of spots too, 35 for him. Cameron Goal, Will Brown, Jack Hodder, Jason Barguana, James Kutcher rounded out your top 20.
Over the page we go, and we've got James Owen ahead of Oscar Piastri, who recovered for 22nd position, Aaron Borg, followed by Mia Ott, Simon Black back to Lockie Hughes, Scott Fountain, Cody Bircham, Brian Borg, and Josh Muggleton in 30th position.
And I think the rest of the results will cycle through on your screen. I spy a certain race winner chilling out in our comms box here, Lockie, and Jay behind the scenes, Brody Kostecki. Why don't we have a chat to him, Lockie?
Sounds awesome. Brody Kostecki, Lockie Mansell here, mate. How are you going?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Yourself?
Really well, thank you. That was a pretty hard-fought race, wasn't it, between you and some supercar drivers and some real-life, or some sim racing drivers as well?
Yeah, it's pretty good, mate. There's a pretty big bust up there at the end. It's pretty good.
So I have to ask the question, you've been charged with the responsibility of engineering the setup on all of the cars that are going to be competing in the Supercars E-Series. How's that process been for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Obviously, it's iRacing and supercars are working together closely to try and make the car a bit more drivable, and it's been good doing all the setups and trying to make it as close as possible to real life. So yeah, it's been fun, and I can't wait to watch the first race tomorrow.
This is the first time that we've seen you competing in the Just Send It series. How much satisfaction do you get from having the chance to race against not just your supercars peers, but also some of the top drivers from the Australian sim racing scene?
Yeah, it's pretty good when a lot of us from real life jump in, and most of the time we're all up the front. So it was a pretty good race there, and with the pit stops and stuff, it was going to be pretty interesting to see the battle at for the end if there wasn't a safety car, but still spicy at the end. And I've done a few of these before, but I just always end up in the fence, so it was actually good to just finish one.
You and Anton De Pasquale, of course, we're going to be seeing you hopefully racing together in the Pertec Enduro Cup races a bit later on in the year in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. Were there any team tactics between you and Anton tonight?
Yeah, mate, there was all the way through qualifying. There's a few of us that always hang out and race together. So we gave each other a couple toes, and we were sort of just on the same race strategy. And Anton slid his box, unfortunately, so it would have been pretty cool for both of us to battle out for the win.
Oh, well, you still both managed to end up on the podium, though, so a good team result for Penrite Erebus Racing tonight. Just finally, Brody, do you have a hot tip for us heading into the Supercars E-Series tomorrow evening?
Tune in and watch, because I reckon it's going to be absolutely mental, so that's my hot tip.
Ryan, you got any questions for Brody, mate?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. I think congratulations on a very well-driven race. You timed that final run out front perfectly well. Oh, I do have a question. Through Ascari, were you ever worried on that final lap of Van Gisbergen getting to the back of you? It looked like Ascari was potentially the winning moment on the track for you.
I might have had my mirrors turned off.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough, then. Well, I'll tell you what, Van Gisbergen was getting very, very close. You did a good job. Congratulations.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
There he is, Brody Kostecki, your race winner for Week 4, Season 3 of Just Send It at Monza. I'll tell you what, this sim racing, over the last month or so, it has exploded in popularity, and I know that a lot of it is because, unfortunately, people are locked up inside and they're looking for activities to fill in their time. But this is a massive opportunity for sim racing to really rise to the fore, and if we get professional, classy demonstrations at the front of the field, like the one that we saw tonight, I reckon that there's going to be people who will tune in and watch it because it's fun and it's entertaining, and that's what we like.
Yeah, 100%. And sim racing encompasses everything from, races where you just turn up and have fun, which is what this is, which still puts on fantastic displays of racing at the top level between the guys with all the experience to, your World Championship events, which, have been running on iRacing for quite a few years now, such as the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and the Tag Heuer Porsche Super Cup. They're sim races that are, just as quick as some of these professionals in a simulator. And then you add in the Pro Invitational, sim racing's really taking off this year, and maybe for reasons we potentially would have hoped that were otherwise. But, in general, it's fantastic to see, and I think it's bringing it to a much wider audience, and I think a lot of people are realizing the positives to esports in general.
Indeed they are, and speaking of esports and online racing, we've got plenty of it coming up over the coming weeks. Of course, as mentioned, the Supercars E-Series kicks off tomorrow night, but here on the SimSpeed TV network, we've still got a lot of racing to come your way as well. Round number 2 of the ARG Esports Cup will be held on Thursday evening, so make sure you tune in for that one. We've got some endurance racing happening this weekend. There's going to be a race that's a bit over 2 hours, a multi-class race being held at Mount Panorama on Saturday. Looking forward to that one. And of course, Just Send It will be back next Tuesday night as well. Big thank you to my co-commentator, Ryan Jones. And of course, a big thank you to our sponsors for Just Send It as well. Melbourne Performance Centre, Motive Simulation, Erebus Motorsport and Checkered Flag Media. You've been watching all of the action right here on SimSpeed TV. On behalf of Ryan Jones and the entire team, I'm Lachlan Mansell. See you next time. Bye for now.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top. Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?